Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Someone Scott Selections here for Saturday, April 30th. For again today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We had a loss in hockey with the Bruins on the money line at plus 105 on Fox Bet. We took a value play with the premise that Toronto was going to be benching everybody because Toronto had nothing to play for, and Toronto announced publicly that it was going to be benching its best players leading up to the game. However, Boston was supposed to use the A squad, and the markets reacted accordingly because Boston went from plus 105 to minus 130. So we beat a 35-cent line move. And then 2 hours before the game, Boston decided, you know what? We don't want to win the game either. And they benched everybody. So we had Boston's B squad against Toronto's B squad in the end, and Toronto's B squad won. So it was pretty unfortunate. I'd say it was unlucky. We beat the line move. We got everything we wanted. And then Boston at the last minute scratched everyone, which we really could not account for. I was extremely surprised Boston did actively punt the game, which I really was not expecting. But either way, a bit unfortunate. Took a shot there with plus money, and it did not work out. So we're going to look for a bounce-back winner here on Saturday. However, didn't really like anything on the card. Pretty underwhelming card. No basketball. You have a UFC card, which I thought was pretty underwhelming. And you have some baseball games with some games not having lines yet, which was a bit unfortunate. But didn't really see much value. So we're going to do something we haven't done in a year or so. We're going to take a series prop in the NBA between the Suns and the Mavericks, and that series is starting on Monday at 10 p.m. And we're going to take the Suns, minus 1.5 games at minus 118 on FanDuel, time recording of 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Couple reasons why I like Phoenix in this series to win in 6 games or less. First of all, even though Dallas won its first round series, I'd say that Dallas was one of the teams that I was the least impressed with that's moving on to the second round. I don't think anybody liked this Utah team, and Dallas really struggled against them for the majority of the series. I know you can argue that Luka was out. The problem was that Dallas was 2-1 without Luka, and the truth is the series got a lot closer when Luka came back. So you can make an argument maybe it's matchup based, or maybe Dallas needs a bit of time to get Luka back into the swing of things. But either way, I have to at least point out that Dallas's offense in particular looked pretty underwhelming when Utah came back in that series. Now, Phoenix, I know you're going to make the counter argument, well, they went 6 games against a 9 seed, and that is true. Booker was injured. We saw that he had 31 points at the half in game 2, got injured. They lost that game, but Phoenix rallied the troops, won in game 6, and Booker came back. So Booker is healthy now, but this might sound like a hot take because I know Utah was the much higher seed. If Utah was playing New Orleans in a playoff series, I would actually take New Orleans. I think New Orleans is the better team. I think that Willie Green's a much better coach than Quinn Snyder. And I think the Pelicans are actually pretty good. And I do believe that the Suns got the scare, quote unquote, they needed. And I do believe that the Suns should fare a lot better in the second round series because of matchups. You can argue that New Orleans matched up quite well against the Suns based on roster makeup. They had Brandon Ingram, who was a very solid scorer. Valanciunas can match up against Ayton. They ended up checking a lot of boxes. The bench was also pretty good. Dallas really doesn't check any of those boxes, and the main reason why they ended up getting past Utah was their elite three-point shooting. And Dallas was extremely reliant on that in the series and the regular season because the Mavericks ended up scoring 36.9% of their points from the three-point line, which ranks 6th in the league. The reason why that's important, the Suns rank 4th in three-point defense, and for reference, Utah ranked 15th. So Phoenix, unlike Utah, actually knows how to switch a pick and roll. So I do believe that Phoenix should do a much better job of contesting on the three-point line. So going small, trying the Kleber center lineup should not work, and I expect the Suns to really wear down the Mavericks over this series. But to go through why Dallas also was successful against Utah, it was the fact that going small had its benefits because Gobert is not very talented offensively. And Dallas could throw Doncic onto Gobert, and Gobert could not take advantage of it. So they really did not give up much defensively, and they ended up, of course, stretching out Utah's defense and winning the series. The issue is rebounding, which I'll get back to in a second. But that's not going to be able to fly in the series because unlike Gobert, Ayton actually has a lot of offensive talent. He can shoot from the outside. He has a lot of touch around the rim. And the regular season, he shot over 60% from the floor. So Ayton should have a very big series. Even McGee off the bench. They also have Biyombo. Phoenix should really dominate in the paint in this game. And we saw Dallas really struggle rebounding the basketball pretty much all season long. Powell is a pretty mediocre center. They have Kleber as their small center, who's, I'd say, an okay rebounder for his size, but against 7-footers, he stands no chance. So Phoenix should really clean up on the glass in the series, and I expect Ayton to be huge in the middle. And I don't think Dallas has any answers for that. They don't really have the personnel. They traded Porzingis for Dinwiddie, which of course worked out because they won the first round series. Dinwiddie was hit or miss, but I do believe that Phoenix should really clean up on the interior, which is going to be a serious, I'd say, focal point of this matchup. But to go through some other factors here, Dallas ranked dead last in pace in the regular season, and you might notice that when Luka came back, Dallas played significantly slower. And to go back to my point about the offense, it didn't really look very good, especially in crunch time, and that's going to segue me to the crunch time stats. In the regular season, Phoenix played 42 quote-unquote clutch games. In other words, games that are very close that came down to the wire. Phoenix played in 42 of those. They went 33-9, which was the best record in the league. They ranked first in offensive rating, and they ranked tied for first in defensive ratings. They were easily the most clutch team in the league. Net rating of 33.4, which was number one in the league by a wide margin. It was not even close. Now to transition, to look at Dallas, Dallas had 38 clutch games in the regular season. The Mavericks went 22-16, which is pretty good. However, the rating numbers are atrocious. Dallas ranked 15th in offensive rating and 27th in defensive rating, which was a net rating of negative 9.1, which ranked 25th in the league. So in other words, Dallas went 6 games over 500 in clutch games, despite having a bottom 5 overall net rating in the clutch, which is an extreme paradox. But the point is, if some of these games are going to be close, Phoenix should really get much better shots and play much better defense down the stretch. And in the playoffs, if you want to actually look at the clutch numbers, Phoenix ranks 3rd in net rating in the clutch with a net rating of 35, which is very, very comparable to the regular season. Dallas's net rating was 5.3, which is better than the playoffs. But the point is that Phoenix, even in the playoffs, has been much better in the clutch. And I'm sure a lot of you can recall that Dallas took a lot of, let's just say, contested shots late in the shot clock against Utah. They run the same exact play over and over again. It's not really a play, but they mostly just isolate Luka at the top of the key. They'll maybe run a screen or two, but it's mostly just an ISO, and you end up seeing Luka take a contested 35-footer. That was kind of what Dallas was running down the stretch in Game 6. Failed miserably, but they ended up dodging the bullet of Bojan missing that open three-pointer. But at the end of the day, you're giving me a situation where Phoenix just matches up really well on paper with Dallas. Dallas doesn't have any size. Phoenix is much better in the clutch. With Chris Paul and Booker, they're almost impossible to beat in the half court. And with Dallas playing the slowest pace in the league, with Luka in the lineup, I really believe that Phoenix is going to really just succeed with the style of play because Dallas is going to be more likely to slow the pace down and try to get into a half-court battle with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And if you're going to do that, that's realistically suicide. I think Dallas might win a game, maybe 2. I know Luka can go nuts and maybe drop 40 or so in a game. Maybe Brunson can get going as well. But Phoenix is it's just such a dominant all-around team. And I do believe that Dallas, despite beating Utah, showed a lot of weaknesses in their game in the process. And I think that the Phoenix will do enough in order to withstand any potential resistance from Dallas en route to a nice 5 or 6 game series win. So the play that once again here for Saturday, April 30th is going to be on the Suns -1.5 games at -118 on FanDuel. Bye, everyone.